Hello everyone, welcome back to Pris Corner with me Pris. I hope you're okay wherever you are. Today on What's Real or Not episodes, I am discussing another new Japanese comic/manga series titled Lovesick by Satoshi Mori, which only contains 3 volumes, so this is a short series as well. If you want to know more about this series, I will leave the details in the link in the description box below. And if you want to support me further, I will leave the link in the description box below as well. So, I already concluded that this series based off 3% fantasy, 3% gray area, and 94% real. As per usual, we'll start from the fantasy part, then move on to the gray area, and lastly on the real part. So, let's jump right into what's real or not episodes today. So, for the fantasy part, I would like to discuss about our female protagonist, Shiki Yoshioka or Shiki, about Shiki's mom that never get mentioned, unless in the flashback scene between Shiki's father and Shiki's grandfather, and only her mom names that been mentioned in there. And there isn't any other info about her. First of all, like, the things that doesn't make sense for me, just like, well, Shiki's father basically passed away when Shiki is still in the middle school, and I think at that age basically you still need parental supervision or an adult supervision, in order basically to grow up or live your life until you reach basically 17 or 20 years old to be considered a fully grown adult that can make decision by yourself. And I wonder that Shiki's mom, even like her mom's family never get mentions, and we don't know much about her mom's at all. And why basically in the flashback scene throughout the series there isn't even a single mention about Shiki basically asking her fathers who is her mom basically, because you can see like her mom's already absent from when Shiki was a little girl. So that's kind of weird that her mom's never get mentioned. Well, at least if she passed away, there's some dialogue or some panels that explain that, but there isn't. And then about Shiki's growing up without basically parental or adult supervisions, how it is possible, I guess, in my opinion. And as you can see, she only knew about her father's family throughout the series when she is in the high school, and which is pretty weird for me. So how did she be able to grow up, I guess? And first of all, where did she get the money basically? I mean, her father's work as a doctor, but I don't know if it's basically her father basically save up money for her to basically pay the bills and something like that. But I wonder if the save up money is enough, because as you can see, her father's already cut off the connection to his family, I guess, to the Soryu family is where he came from basically. And that's basically baffled me. That's why I think it's a fantasy, because there is no explanation whatsoever. And I think Shiki's mom is a good person, so if she basically left them alone, it's probably because she passed away, but there isn't a mention in it, I guess. And the next one for the fantasy part is, I think, about the school girl, I guess. I mean like the high school student in the academy itself. Like, for example, how could they accept that they are in a relationship with Aki, and I mean Aki has 6 girlfriends, and how could they accept that? Most girls wouldn't accept that if they're in the right mind. And why is Shiki is the only girl that basically reject Aki's advances, I guess, or Aki's flirting is pretty weird. I mean, like, if you really think about it, there should be one or two girls that basically can reject Akis besides Siki, because that's pretty normal, I guess, if there is one or two character like that, but there isn't. And most girl is okay with being Aki's second girlfriend or even fifth girlfriend, things like that. Or even like when Aki's basically flirting with the other girls, they seemingly fine with it, which is pretty weird for me. And then the next one is about Haru, I guess. Haru is like the princely type, which I think there should be some character that basically want to hugging him to herself, like for example the Ayano Koji case in the Orange House Club, but there isn't something like that, so I think that's pretty weird. And well, I think that's for the fantasy part, because I don't think that it makes sense for me, because well, the Ayano Koji case, I already seen that in real life, so there's a real example of that. That's why when there isn't character like that, makes me wonder, I guess. There is another two supporting cast, which I will basically discuss with you in the gray area, but they basically are having some interest into Aki, not Haru, so that's a different case entirely. I think that's all for the fantasy part. Let's move on to the gray area, shall we? So for the gray area, I would like to mention the two supporting casts, and I'm sorry I forget their names. I think one girl has a long black hair, and the other one has a curly blonde hair, because her hair's not colored in these pages. And as I mentioned before, both of them has interest in Aki, or maybe in all of them in general whatsoever, but I guess towards Aki especially, which is like the weird things about them is just like, well, at first they treat Siki as their enemy, and then after being seduced by Aki, they basically just change their mind and then become allies with them until the end of the series, which I don't know the power of seduction's really that great, or it's just basically, well, just to make the plot short. But okay, well, this is a short series, so I kinda understand that. But for me, comparable to the real life, people not gonna change their mind that quickly. That's just so rapid and basically drastic change. Maybe could happen, but I don't think so. Most probably not. But I put it in gray area because there's still some possibility, even though it's a little, to have such a drastic change into that. But for the part that they're basically being loyal and becoming the Siki's ally with the four guys, I'm not really sure about that, to be honest. But if there are simple-minded folk or simple-minded people in general, maybe it could happen. So that's why I put it in the gray area. So the next one is about the four guys' parents, or the main cast parents. For example, in the series, Haru parents basically being brought to the surface, like her mom is kind of psychotic and her father is basically trying to stay away from his psychotic mom. And then I think about Natsu, Aki and Fuyu basically doesn't get that exposure, I guess. I mean, you could see that they are being rejected by their families, but I think it's their relatives rather than their real parents, I guess, because there's no faces appear, I guess. So I wonder, like, even though in family, like for example, like Haru still has his father that care for him, but I wonder in Natsu and Aki and Fuyu case why there isn't a single family member that cares about them, which is pretty weird. I mean, family could be dysfunctional and messed up. I think there should be 1 or 2% in order for them basically to support them in a way, and I feel pretty sad about them, to be honest. I'm being conflicted and on a dilemma right now. That's why I put it in a gray area, because it could still have some possibility to happen. There is no one cares about you, but well, I just don't want to basically believe that, I guess. And I believe that there could be 1 or 2 family members that care for you. it's just that. And I think that's all for the gray area. And then let's move on to the final part, the real part. So for the real part, just the whole plot of the series, most of it, I guess. Like, for example, like Haru's psychotic mom, I think that's could possible to happen in real life, because as you can see, like his mom tried to basically get his father attentions because she basically obsessed with Haru's father for some reasons unknown, and unfortunately because of the pages and because it's a short series, that kind of thing couldn't get explored a lot, but it's okay. So I think that is still possible, and fortunately that Haru has his father to basically back him up. And then move on about Shiki's family, for example, like how her grandfather doesn't allow her father basically married with maybe ordinary woman or a lower class woman in their eyes, I guess, or in his eyes, because basically they came from a really rich and influential family. So I know that this is pretty cliche, but I think this is what happened in real life, when you are in a rich family, the people around you, especially your parents, just want you to be with someone who has the same class with you, or as rich as your family. If not, they will be considered as lower status or lower classes, like the things that happened in the 19th century about the noble and things like that. It's still happening right now. Just the differences is just about the wealth basically, and maybe status a bit, I guess. And that scene was pretty cliche, but it's pretty familiar because I've seen that kind of experience firsthand, and that's why I concluded that this is real. And then about how basically the other family members treated Haru, Natsu, Aki, and Fuyu, I think that's pretty expected, to be honest. Like when people basically come across or stumble upon something that weird and different from them, they basically always make that person or that group as an outcast, which, well, as you can see, the treatment was pretty harsh and really basically traumatizing to the person who are on the receiving end of it. At least try to be nice and polite first, before you judge someone. If you feel like you're not safe and you're not comfortable when they try to basically get close to you, maybe you should basically back off. But I don't know which one is the better, but at least if you don't want to basically involve with them directly, just try to observe them for a while. If you think it's safe, then be nice to them. If you don't feel they're safe basically, and better you just stay away from them, because, well, we still need to take care of ourselves. It's not that basically I want people to be apathy about it. It just, sometimes if you don't know how to handle the situation well, you're gonna make it a lot worse. Just keep that in mind. Anyway, moderation and balance is the key, so just be careful, everyone. And then I'm sorry, I'm basically chatting and ranting a little bit much, and then let's move on for the last part of the real part of the series. I think this last point is about basically the principal or the villain in the series. Like, well, that's pretty realistic in my opinion. Like, he tried every way, even like basically sexually harass Siki in a way to basically threaten her and basically make her under his wings, so basically he can basically reach his goal and basically throw Shiki out of the picture, because he doesn't like Shiki's father, I guess, and maybe kind of jealous and envy, I guess, about it, which, well, that's pretty normal. That I think this is pretty realistic and basically grounded, because there are so many people who can do and will do and should do anything in order to reach their goal, which is basically fame, status, and wealth. Yes, and they don't hesitate to use any other way, and they don't care whether it's immoral or not, whether it's the right way or not, as long as they reach their goal, which is, I guess, sadly, it reflects in our society a lot, especially with the people that in the higher ups mostly, and that's, I guess, pretty ironic, and pretty sad. That's why I put it in the real part, because that's the real part in my opinion. Oh, I forgot to mention that the festival get what he deserved, that being in the prison for quite a long time, maybe the rest of his life. I hope so, because it's never get mentioned, by the way, but he got what he deserved anyway. And then lastly, to put it into the lighter note, like, for example, Siki's grandpa tried to basically mend the relationship because he wasn't able to do that with Siki's father, and now basically he wants to treat Siki the best that he can, I guess, and provide for her as much as he can, which is pretty good. So it's been like mending the broken ties that's already severed or broken before by Siki's father, and that's pretty nice and most likely possible. That's why I put it in the real part, because, well, as people get older, they get less stubborn, I guess, and they more basically let go of things rather than when they are still younger. I think that's all for the real part, and basically that marks the end of the What's Real or Not episodes today. Again, thank you for listening. Hope you are enjoying my contents. And by the way, sorry for the wrong grammar or mispronunciation and a little bit stuttering for me. I hope you bear with it and still can enjoy this podcast. By the way, don't forget to follow me on Instagram to know what kind of contents that I'm gonna be uploading. And also don't forget to stay tuned on my KoFi page or on any other podcast platform that you listen in. And hope to see you soon. Bye bye.